Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're jumping into a really packed chapter from the Gospels, Matthew 14.
It really is. I mean, you've got some incredibly famous stories side by side here, but also some stark contrasts, don't you think?
Totally, like profound tragedy right next to, well, miraculous provision.
And then power over nature, plus this widespread healing. It covers a lot of ground.
Exactly. So our plan is to basically walk through these different bits, these narratives, straight from Matthew 14, and just see what details, maybe surprising ones, jump out.
Okay, sounds good. So let's start at the top then. Chapter 14 kicks off with Herod the Tetrarch hearing things about Jesus.
Right, reports are coming in, and his reaction is, well, it's revealing, isn't it? Maybe guilt-driven, maybe superstition.
Could be. He immediately leaps to, this must be John the Baptist risen from the dead. That's why he thinks Jesus has these powers.
Which naturally leads Matthew to give us the backstory on John the Baptist's fate. Why was John even in prison?
Yeah, the text explains Herod had arrested him because of Herodias. She was his brother Philip's wife.
And John had confronted Herod about it directly, told him, it's not lawful for you to have her. Pretty bold.
Very bold. Now, what's interesting here, the text actually says Herod wanted to kill John earlier.
Oh, right.
But he didn't. He was afraid of the people because, they all saw John as a prophet.
So public opinion kept him in check, at least for a while. But then comes Herod's birthday party.
Ah, yes, the party. Herodias' daughter dances, apparently very well.
She pleases Herod and, importantly, his dinner guests. A public performance.
To the point where Herod makes this grand public oath, ask me for anything and I'll give it to you.
A rash promise.
Mm-hmm.
And Herodias sees her chance. She prompts her daughter.
And the request comes back. It's chilling, really. Give me the head of John the Baptist, right here, on a platter.
Wow. Just like that. The text mentions the king was distressed. He didn't want to do it.
But he felt trapped, didn't he, by his own oath, made in front of everyone, his guests.
The social pressure and the promise.
Exactly. So he gives the order. John is executed, beheaded, right there in the prison.
And the head is brought in on a platter, given to the girl,
who then takes it to her mother, Herodias. It's a really dark sequence. Politics, revenge, a prophet's end.
And after this horror, John's disciples come, they take his body, bury it, and then what do?
They go and tell Jesus.
Right.
Which is significant. That news becomes a turning point in the chapter.
Right. So Jesus hears about John, his cousin, being murdered, and his reaction, he tries to get away.
Yeah, he withdraws, the text says, privately by boat to a solitary place, seeking solitude, presumably to grieve.
But the crowds, they hear about it. They figure out where he's going.
And they follow him on foot from all the nearby towns. So much for solitude.
So he lands, sees this huge crowd waiting, and what's his response?
Compassion. The text specifically highlights that. He saw them, had compassion, and healed their sick.
Even in his own grief, that's his reaction. It's quite something. His focus immediately shifts outwards.
It really is. So he's been healing them. Time passes. Evening starts to set in.
And the disciples, they get practical. They come to Jesus and say, look, this is a remote place. It's getting late.
Standard logistics.
Send the crowds away so they can go find food in the villages. Makes sense, right?
Totally sensible. A very human solution to a large-scale problem.
Mm-hmm.
But Jesus' answer just flips it.
He says, they don't need to go away. You give them something to eat.
Puts it right back on them. Imagine their faces.
Seriously. And their response is immediate, pointing out the obvious lack. We've only got 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish here.
Basically, that's impossible, Jesus. Enough for maybe one family, not thousands.
But Jesus doesn't engage with the impossibility. He just says, bring them here to me. Simple instruction.
Takes what little they have, then he tells everyone to sit down on the grass, organizes the crowd.
And then the specific actions. Takes the loaves and fish, looks up to heaven, gives thanks, and breaks the loaves.
That sequence is key. The looking up, the giving thanks before the miracle.
Then he gives the broken food to the disciples.
And they are the ones who distribute it to the people. He works through them.
And the result, the text is very clear. Everybody ate, and they were satisfied. Full.
Not just a snack. Properly fed. And then there's the matter of the leftovers.
Right. The disciples go around afterwards and collect the broken pieces.
And they gather 12 basketfuls.
12 baskets. Left over from the initial 5 loaves and 2 fish. After feeding, 5,000 men?
Yeah, about 5,000 men plus women and children. So the actual number was much larger.
The sheer scale of that, the abundance from such scarcity, That's a huge takeaway right there. His power multiplying their tiny contribution.
Absolutely. It shows what happens when human limitation is offered up to him. Okay, so immediately after that massive event,
No time wasted. The story shifts gear again. Jesus makes the disciples get straight into their boat.
tells them to go on ahead of him across the lake while he stays behind to dismiss the crowd.
He handles the crowd, dispersal himself. And once they're gone,
He goes up onto a mountainside by himself to pray. The text notes he was there alone as evening fell, seeking that solitude again.
but down on the lake, the disciples are having a rough time.
Oh yeah, the boat is way out from land by now, getting knocked around by the waves.
Because the wind is completely against them. They're rowing hard, getting nowhere, and it's dark.
And then deep into the night, the fourth, like 3 a.m. to 6 a.m.,
The darkest part.
Jesus comes to them.
Mm.
And how does he come? He's walking on the water.
Can you imagine? In that storm, middle of the night, seeing a figure walking on the waves towards your boat?
Terrifying. Their reaction is instant fear. It's a ghost, they cry out.
Just pure terror. Understandable, really.
But Jesus speaks immediately, cutting through the noise and fear. Take courage. It is I. Don't be afraid.
That familiar voice, that reassurance. And who speaks up then? Peter, of course.
Always Peter. He calls out, Lord, if it's you, tell me to come to you on the water. What a request.
Bold, testing almost. And Jesus' response.
One word, come.
And Peter does it. He actually gets out of the boat.
Steps onto the water and starts walking towards Jesus.
Yeah.
An incredible moment of faith.
But it doesn't last, does it?
No. The text says, when he saw the wind, that's the turning point. He noticed the storm again.
Took his eyes off Jesus, basically. And what happened?
He gets scared, and he starts to sink.
His cry then is just pure desperation. Lord, save me.
And Jesus' response is immediate. No delay. Reaches out his hand, catches him.
Pulls him up. But then comes the question.
Yeah, gentle rebuke almost. You of little faith, Jesus says, why did you doubt? Gets right to the heart of it.
And the moment they're both back in the boat.
The wind dies down,
I
just stops. Calm returns.
And the other disciples in the boat who've just seen all this unfold.
Yeah.
What's their reaction?
Profound. They worship him. And they declare, truly you are the Son of God. They get it in that moment.
That whole sequence with Peter, it's such a powerful image of, well, faith and doubt wrestling, isn't it? Stepping out boldly.
Then faltering when faced with the reality of the storm, the fear.
But finding immediate rescue the moment he cries out, it captures so much of the human experience with faith.
He really does. Okay, so from that high drama on the lake, they finally reach the other side. They land at Gennesaret.
And as soon as they get there, people recognize Jesus. Word spreads fast.
Yeah, the text says the men of that place knew him, sent word all around the surrounding country.
And people just start bringing all their sick to him, a flood of need.
And notice the nature of their request. It's described so simply. They begged him.
Just to let the sick touch the edge, the fringe of his cloak. That's all they asked.
Such simple faith. Not asking for a big display, just contact.
And the result is stated so clearly. All who touched him were healed. Period.
Quite a contrast to Peter walking on water, isn't it?
Yeah.
Here, faith isn't about a dramatic action by the person.
No, it's about believing there's power in him, accessible even through the slightest touch. It's about desperate need meeting available grace.
Exactly. It shows how accessible his power is, responding to even that simple gesture of faith. So when you step back and look at Matthew 14 as a whole,
It's quite a journey in one chapter. You go from the political intrigue and, frankly, sordidness of Herod's court and John's death
to Jesus' deep compassion in a lonely place, leading to that incredible feeding miracle.
then the storm, the fear, the walking on water, Peter's faith and doubt.
And finally landing on the shore to this wave of simple, effective healing faith. The settings change dramatically. Palace, wilderness, stormy lake, busy shoreline.
And through it all, you see these different responses to Jesus, these different kinds of interaction. It's fascinating.
Absolutely. You have Herod's reaction, fear, superstition, maybe guilt. You have the crowds bringing their physical needs, eating, being satisfied.
Then the disciples in the boat, sheer terror giving way to awe and worship. You have Peter, this mix of incredible boldness and sudden crippling doubt.
And then the people at Gennesaret, just desperate need and this simple, focused belief in the power of touching his cloak. It really maps out a whole spectrum of how people encountered him.
Yeah, it does. And woven through it is that contrast we talked about. Moments of real human weakness or limitation.
Like Herod's spinelessness, the disciples feeling totally inadequate with the bread and fish, Peter sinking when he looks at the wind.
Set against Jesus's consistent response, compassion, providing abundance, showing power over nature, reaching out that saving hand.
It's a chapter that really packs a punch, showing both human frailty and divine power in very vivid ways.
So, thinking about all these different encounters packed into Matthew 14, maybe something for you, the listener, to consider. What strikes you most about the different kinds of faith or belief on display here? You've got Peter stepping out of the boat, you've got the sick just wanting to touch a garment, the disciples confessing after the storm. What might this variety suggest about how we, ourselves, connect with or perhaps shy away from things that seem beyond our everyday understanding?